Welcome to Walking the Haftarah. I'm Tyler Merwin, and this is Torah portion, BAMIDBAR. This week's Torah portion is Numbers 1:1 through 4:20, and our Haftarah we'll cover this week is Hosea 1:10 through 2:20. BAMIDBAR means in the wilderness, and the opening line of our Torah portion that reads, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tent of meeting on the first day of the second month, in the second year after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Take a census of all the congregation of the people of Israel, by clans, by fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male, head by head. Numbers 1:1 and 2. This week we begin a new book of the Torah, BAMIDBAR, or Numbers. This week's portion will cover the census of Israel, the arrangement of their encampment, and the appointment of the Levites. Our Haftarah this week is from Hosea, the deathbed prophet of the northern kingdom of Israel, but his prophecy this week will mainly focus on their future restoration. So let's begin with reviewing this week's portion. We begin with a census, which literally means lifting the head in Hebrew. Those that were counted were military-aged men from age 20 on upward. They were counted by their tribes, and the tribal leaders were to account for them, and the text lists their names of all the tribal leaders. The accounting was important for both a near-future military conquest of the Promised Land and for appropriately dividing up the land for habitation. So here's the census results of the 12 tribes. Reuben had 46,500. Simeon, 59,300, Gad, 45,650, Judah, 74,600, Issachar, 54,400, Zebulun, 57,400, Ephraim, 40,500, Manasseh, 32,200, Benjamin, 35,400, Dan, 62,700, Asher, 41,500, and finally Naphtali, with 53,400. So all those listed of the people of Israel by their fathers' houses from 20 years old and upward, every man able to go to war in Israel, all those listed were 603,550. Numbers 1:45 and 46. The tribe of Levi was not included in this count, but the Levites were not listed with them by their ancestral tribe. For Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh spoke to Moses, saying, Only the tribe of Levi you shall not list, and you shall not take a census of them among the people of Israel. Numbers 1:47 through 49. The Levites are assigned the duty of the tabernacle, or Mishkan. They're in charge of setting up, breaking down, transporting, and guarding the Mishkan. Next, we are told about the arrangement of the camp of Israel. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, The people of Israel shall camp each by his own standard, with the banners of their fathers' houses. They shall camp facing the tent of meeting on every side. Numbers 2:1 and 2. Each tribe had a standard, or a banner, that represented them by color, pattern, and by symbol. The term facing the tent of meeting can also be translated in the face or the presence of the tent of meeting. So it may not be actually giving us a geographic description of exactly how their tents were facing. It may just be that they were in the presence of the tabernacle because they were surrounded. They did actually surround the tabernacle. The Mishkan was in the center, or the heart of the camp, and the 12 tribes encamped around it. 3 tribes on each side. This consisted of the primary or majority tribe conjoined with 2 other tribes. East was the primary direction for Israel and the Mishkan, and for most of the known world at that time, since the sun always rose in the east. The east flank was covered by Judah, along with Issachar and Zebulun. These tribes were to set out first when Israel went on the march. The south flank was covered by Reuben, along with Simeon and Gad. They were to set out second. Next, the Mishkan and the Levites would set out. The western flank was covered by Ephraim along with Manasseh and Benjamin. They would set out third after the tabernacle. And the northern flank was covered by Dan along with Asher and Naphtali. This group would set out last. Each side contained 3 tribes, but were referred to as a single units, Judah, Reuben, Ephraim, and Dan, respectively. Though all 12 tribes had their own banners, they also had a consolidated banner that represented their 3-tribe unit. The symbolism of these banners here matches what we see in Revelation chapter 4, referring to the 4 living creatures that were around the heavenly throne. The main point here is that Adonai was working through Moses to create a copy or an image of his heavenly realm here on the earth through his people Israel, as seen in the encampment. You can get more details on this in the Walking the Torah portion series on this Torah portion. Next, our focus switches to the Levites. And Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh spoke to Moses, saying, "Bring the tribe of Levi near, and set them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister to him. They may keep guard over him and over the whole congregation before the tent of meeting, as they minister at the tabernacle." Numbers 3, 5-7. The Levites are set apart, and their duties are to the tabernacle and to the priesthood. Next, Moses is told to take a census of the Levites, separate from the rest of the tribes, all the males from a month old and up. There are 3 primary family groups within the Levites: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The Levites were to encamp around the Mishkan between it and the 12 tribes, kind of an inner guard. Gershon was to camp on the west side and had charge over the tent, its covers, the entrance screen, the curtains of the courtyard, and its ropes. Kohath was to camp on the south side and had charge of the ark, the table, the menorah, the altars, and the sacred utensils. Merari camped on the north side and had charge over the planks, bars, pillars, sockets, and utensils, the pillars of the courtyard and their sockets, pegs, and ropes. Those who were to camp before the tabernacle on the east, before the tent of meeting toward the sunrise, were Moses and Aaron and his sons, guarding the sanctuary itself, to protect the people of Israel, and any outsider who came near was to be put to death. Numbers 3:38. So the total number of Levites that were counted was 22,000 even. Next, Adonai commands Moses to take another census, this time of all the firstborns of Israel, not counting the Levites, and that number came out to 22,273. The firstborn belonged to Adonai, but he took the Levites in place of the firstborn of Israel. So since there was 273 more firstborns than Levites, 5 shekels of silver per head was given to the priesthood to redeem the 273 firstborn Israelites. Our portion ends with the instructions for the family of Kohath in their tabernacle duties. Kohath had charge of the most holy things of the Mishkan, and because of the high degree of holiness, these were also the potentially most hazardous things to handle. Everything they transported had to be transported by hand. They couldn't use a cart or use any beasts of burden to assist them. The priesthood, Aaron and his sons, had to cover all the holy articles with curtains of the sanctuary before they could even be handled. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Let not the tribe of the clans of the Kohathites be destroyed from among the Levites, but deal thus with them, that they may live and not die, when they come near to the most holy things. Aaron and his son shall go in and appoint them each to his task and to his burden, that they shall not go in to look on the holy things even for a moment, lest they die." Numbers 4:17-20. This brings us to our Haftarah this week. And back to the prophet Hosea. Hosea 1:10 through 2:20. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be like the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. And in the place where it was said to them, You are not my people, it shall be said to them, Children of the living God. Hosea 1:10. In our Torah portion, Israel was numbered, but here future redeemed Israel cannot be numbered. In the place is understood as the place of their exile. We who are still in exile see this prophecy coming alive in our very lives, as we know that we are children of the living God. And the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together, and they shall appoint for themselves one head, and they shall go up from the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. Verse 11. Judah and Israel will once again be gathered together, also prophesied in Ezekiel 37 as the two sticks prophecy. The one head that they shall appoint will be Yeshua, King Messiah. Now the Jezreel comment, we know that the idolatrous couple of Ahab and Jezebel were both killed in Jezreel as prophesied by the prophet Elijah. Jezreel is also the place of punishment for Israel and the prophetic name given to Hosea's first son. So this is, in fact, a reverse of the curse. Say to your brothers, You are my people, and to your sisters, You have received mercy. Hosea 2:1. Hosea's other son was prophetically named Not My People, and his daughter was prophetically named No Mercy. So here again we see redemption and a reverse of the curse in future days. Now the prophet reminds them of their current situation that will bring about their soon exile. Plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband, that she put away her whoring from her face, and her adultery from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked and make her as in the day she was born, and make her like a wilderness, and make her like a parched land, and kill her with thirst. Verses 2 and 3. Israel was idolatrous, like Jezebel, which the Holy One cannot abide. The wilderness is an idiom for exile, and there she will be stripped of her glory of being holy to the Holy One. Upon her children also I will have no mercy, because they are children of whoredom. For their mother has played the whore. She who conceived them has acted shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers, who give me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, my oil and my drink. Therefore I will hedge up her way with thorns, and I will build a wall against her, so that she cannot find her paths. Verses 4 through 6. Idolatrous Israel thinks that they can be sustained by their idolatry, which is a false and vain hope. Another thing to think of is, in Scripture, when we talk prophetically of children, typically what it's meaning is a children is someone who is coming up in the same image as their parents. So if there's no other explanation, if it's talking about children, realize that the children would have the same qualities as the parents that were before them, good or bad. She shall pursue her lovers, but not overtake them, and she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then she will say, I will go and return to my first husband, for it was better for me then than now. And she did not know that it was I who gave her the grain, the wine, and the oil, and who lavished her with silver and gold, which they used for Baal. Therefore I will take back my grain in its time, and my wine in its season, and I will take away my wool and my flax, which were to cover her nakedness. Verses 7 through 9. Israel thought that they were receiving blessings from their idolatry, when in fact it was Adonai providing for them the whole time. Now I will uncover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one shall rescue her out of my hand. And I will put an end to all her mirth, her feasts, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her appointed feasts. Verses 10 and 11. In Leviticus 23, Adonai proclaims the Sabbath and the appointed feasts that are his, and we, his people, are to celebrate them. When we mix our worship of the Holy One with idols, they are no longer his appointed feasts or his Sabbaths. They become nothing more than another golden calf party in his eyes. We may delude ourselves into thinking that if we show up on these days that Adonai will accept our mixed worship. But how can a husband honor a wife who is unfaithful? Israel thought they were celebrating his feasts, but they, in reality, were only celebrating their own. And I will lay waste her vines and her fig trees, of which she said, These are my wages, which my lovers have given me. I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall devour them. I will punish her for the feast days of the Baals, when she burned offerings to them, and adorned herself with her ring and jewelry, and went after her lovers, and forgot me, declares Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Verse 12 and 13. Now the prophet jumps again to the future, where Adonai will call her out of her exile. Therefore, behold, I will allure her, and bring her into the wilderness, and speak tenderly to her. And there I will give her her vineyards, and make the valley of Achor a door of hope. And there she shall answer as in the days of her youth, as at the time when she came out of the land of Egypt. Verses 14 and 15. Just as Adonai tenderly cared for Israel in the wilderness after the Exodus, so he will again care for us. The valley of Achor means the valley of destruction, where Achan was executed in Joshua chapter 7 for stealing the forbidden spoils. And this, of course, shows another reverse of the curse. And in that day, declares Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, you will call me my husband, and no longer will you call me my Baal. For I will remove the names of the Baals from her mouth, and they shall be remembered by name no more. Verses 16 and 17. Baal translates as Lord or Master, which can be used as a reference to the Holy One at times, or to a pagan deity, depending on the context. Verse 16 is referring to the Holy One being called your husband, which is a term of affection, rather than Baal, master, which was actually a term of fear. Verse 17, though, is referring to the pagan deity, whom they will never call upon again. And I will make for them a covenant on that day with the beasts of the field, the birds of the heavens, and the creeping things on the ground. And I will abolish the bow, the sword, and war from the land. And I will make you lie down in safety. And I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you to me in righteousness and in justice, in steadfast love and in mercy. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness, and you shall know Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Verses 18 through 20. Yeshua will return one day soon to complete this prophecy that is being fulfilled in our eyes. Don't be discouraged. Have faith and look up, for your redemption draws nigh. I pray this teaching has been edifying. Let's lift up the name of the Holy One with love and echad. Shalom.